General Counsel for the American Suppressor Association. Michael Williams, we're going to talk about the DOJ and the new era, finally, of pro-Second Amendment policies worth, if I could talk, task force. Hi, Michael.
Fawn, how are you doing this morning? Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for being here. I'm so pro-Second Amendment, I think I should be able to own a tank if I want one. I think it's just dumb that they try to regulate it. They do not know what shall not be infringed actually means.
I couldn't agree more, and you're exactly right. I would love a tank myself. I don't know if I have the space for it, but if I did, I'd want one.
Yeah, I might not ever do anything with it, but you know what? If the world comes to an end, I'm ready at that point.
That's right.
But there are a lot of very cool-minded, calm people who are not going to shoot themselves in the foot or shoot anybody else, who have had guns their entire life and never caused a single problem. And I don't know, but when I go to the range, I would love to have a suppressor on my gun so it's not so loud it breaks my eardrums and that of the kids who are training with me. I mean, they are something that I think are very, very useful, but everybody's mind goes straight to those assassin films where they're trying to silence the shots so nobody knows they committed a crime, because we are programmed to be stupid.
That's exactly right. And, that you've hit the nail on the head. And I don't blame folks for thinking that, because like you said, we have been programmed that way. Hollywood's been telling us this. They've, basically been lying to us for the last 50 years on these things. Because as you know, and anybody who's ever been around a suppressor knows, the fact of the matter is they're mufflers for guns. And just like the muffler on your car doesn't make your car silent, neither does a muffler on your firearm. That's just pure physics. Right? Gunshots are incredibly loud. We're talking 140 to 170 decibels.
Make your ears ring.
They do. And a suppressor is going to get it down, maybe with a really good suppressor, down to about 110 decibels on a 22. And that's, for comparison's sake, that's the same amount of noise produced by a jackhammer. So nobody I know has ever accused a jackhammer of being silent, and yet gunshots are often accused of being silent with
Well,
suppressors.
Today I identify as a jackhammer, because I am just telling you that we have so much fun. I even took the little tiny guy, the 9 and 10-year-olds, to the concealed carry courses so that they would understand everything there is to know about a gun, how to take it apart, clean it, put it back together, and what it's used for and what it's not used for, and then how to be very proficient at hitting the target. And, when you can get 5 center mass when you're 9 years old, that's a good thing, because if someone breaks into my house, Michael, and I'm incapacitated, I want him to know how to protect himself.
No, that's exactly right. And once again, we're on the same page here completely.
We're not
firearm
stupid.
education starts early. You gotta let them know how to be safe and responsible around these things, and have a healthy respect for the firearm, and ultimately know how to use it. Because if they know how to use it, they're going to be much better positioned to not have an accident.
Well, and not want to show it off to their friends, because they know it's
Exactly.
a dangerous object that should not be played with or shown. At least most kids know your children.
Exactly.
It comes down to that. All right. So this administration is the friendliest we've had towards the Second Amendment in my lifetime.
Without question. And I was lucky enough to get to be a part of President Trump's first administration. So I served all 4 years, back 2017 through 2021. I got to spend a year and some change of that in his West Wing, working in the Chief of Staff's office, where I got to help him develop and execute on his Second Amendment policies. And I'd like to think we got some good things done that first term, but what they're doing this term between his White House and Pam Bondi's DOJ is just unbelievable, how quickly they're working to restore our nation's Second Amendment rights that the Biden administration, frankly, spent 4 years just absolutely trashing and trying to undermine.
So you got to spend time with DJT?
I did. I was lucky enough to do that, and it was the experience of a lifetime. He's incredible.
Do you know how mad I am at you right now? OMG. No, I just think it's wonderful, because I love this president. I love his ideas. I love what he's doing for the country. I can't even imagine a better president for what he's trying to do for America right now.
Neither can I. And I mean, the speed with which he's executing on the policy priorities that are going to make the lives of the American people better is astounding, right? Like I said, I think we got some good stuff done in term one, but what they're doing now is just unprecedented in its scope and in its speed and in its ability to make everybody's lives better.
Yeah. All right. So, the DOJ, what are they doing? What are they amending with their new policies?
So they're doing some incredible things, and they've said it, and I'll say it again here. For this president and this Attorney General Bondi, the Second Amendment is a core focus of the DOJ, unlike the Biden DOJ, where attacking Second Amendment rights was their core focus. So, the most exciting thing I've seen, so there's a few exciting things going on. First, President Trump issued his executive order on the Second Amendment back in February, directing DOJ to put together a report about how they were going to, what exact steps they want to take to protect and expand the Second Amendment rights of the American people. I know from talking to folks at the White House and at the DOJ that report has gone back and forth a few times. They want to make sure it's rock solid before they release it to the public. I'm going to imagine that they're going to release it probably sooner than later. So we can all be excited to see that when it comes out. But in the meantime, they're not wasting any time, getting into the nuts and bolts and getting things done. So as we saw last week, Attorney General Bondi announced the formation of a Second Amendment task force, which I'm very excited about. That task force does a few things. First, just for folks who, maybe don't spend, I'm a nerd. I spend a lot of my time focusing in on what the administration is doing and sort of the minute details. So, somebody who doesn't spend their time doing that might think, well, okay, that's nice. What is a task force? Maybe that's not a big deal. I want to make sure your listeners know it is a huge deal, because what it means is that the Attorney General is forcing her senior staff and the folks who work for her and her senior staff to make the Second Amendment a priority. So that's a big leg up you've got when you're an attorney general, is by convening meetings and having your employees come, on a regular cadence. I don't know if it'll be every other week or even once a month, and come back and report to you about what they've done in that intervening time to advance Second Amendment rights. It forces that focus on the staff level. And when there's that focus, that's the ability to get things done. So she has grabbed, by my count, it's 9, at least folks from 9 different offices in DOJ. And it's really all the top offices that would potentially touch the Second Amendment. So she's got her deputy, somebody from her deputy's office, somebody from the Civil Rights Division. And I'll say, as a side note there, the Civil Rights Division, that's very exciting. She's really changing the game on what the Civil Rights Division is focusing on. It had sort of unfortunately become almost an in-house leftist law firm inside the Department of Justice, and that had been true in both Republican and Democrat administrations. So by refocusing them, and I don't know if you were following, but a couple weeks ago, she announced that the Civil Rights Division was initiating an investigation into a discriminatory, potential civil rights violations being undertaken by Los Angeles County for the way they're delaying and making it very difficult for citizens in Los Angeles County to get concealed weapons permits. So that's a thing that, by focusing in on that, there's real teeth there. The Civil Rights Division has the ability to come in and issue file civil lawsuits against folks, even file criminal lawsuits if the facts warrant it. So she's really putting the word out to the American people and to law enforcement and folks who are anti-Second Amendment that this is a focus and that she's going to crack down on people who are violating Second Amendment rights.
Right. And Second Amendment rights are wonderful until you abuse them. Now, we're not saying we don't want, I would actually like stronger penalties for people who misuse their weapons, because in that way and in that forum, the courts, that is where you make your point. If somebody is misusing weapons, you don't get to take law-abiding citizens and act like we're all criminals.
That's exactly right. And, that's what the Biden administration had done. And, again, that gets to a couple of the things that the Attorney General has reversed in the last week or two. The Biden administration was treating gun owners like they were criminals and treating federal firearms licensees, basically gun shops, as if they were criminals. They had this policy called zero tolerance. I don't know. I'm sure you've gone into a gun store before, right? It's very regulated. Before you buy your gun, you've got to fill out you got to fill out your 4473. It's a decently complicated process, and there's a lot of paperwork involved.
There's always going to be a few who slip through the cracks, though, who've never been accused of anything, but they're nuts. So those people need to be punished drastically.
Without question, they should. And that's another frustration of Second Amendment advocates, is that we do have all these laws on the books, and then your liberal presidents don't want to enforce them. We want that enforcement against the bad actors. We don't want bad guys to have guns.
Nope.
But we don't think most Americans are bad guys. There's about 400 million guns in America. 100 to 150 million gun owners. 99.9999% of those folks are just law-abiding Americans trying to work hard and raise their families, and want, firearms for protecting their home, protecting their families, hunting, recreation, right? All the normal things that, the good guys do with guns.
Right.
And it's just so frustrating when that's not enforced. And to have seen the Biden administration, try to say that if a gun shop sells 1,000 guns in a year, and the Biden administration's contention was if one of those 1,000 forms had one box checked wrong, or the form got misplaced, there was one little mistake that those folks made, they wanted to assert that DOJ could shut down their business. That's crazy. That was the zero tolerance policy that Attorney General Bondi ended last week.
Good. Well, my thought on it is, I know a lot of liberals who hate guns who have them, so I'm trying to figure them out. Or they have bodyguards who have them. So if they are scourge of the earth, and there are people, all the experts on Facebook, Michael, let's not forget about them. The people who are anti-gun from other countries who do not understand the United States and why we allow our population to have guns have never lived on a side of a city where if you don't have a gun, you're a fish in a barrel.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to be able to protect yourself.
You do, and that's a right given by God to Americans and protected by the Second Amendment. So, I don't think, and it is unfortunate for those folks who are new to America and didn't have that right in their home countries. And most folks in most countries don't have that right. I feel very blessed to live in America where my right to protect myself is protected.
Me too. I once upon a time had a Chinese foreign exchange student who was absolutely guffawed at the fact that I had so many guns in my house. He's like, "Why do you have them?" I'm like, "Because I might need them." Need for what? Right. I'm like, well, I don't know yet, but if it happens, I'll know.
That's right.
I didn't let him touch them because, it's their law, and he's here. Sure. I don't want him to get in trouble, but they just think it's the craziest thing. And the Facebook experts don't even live here. And they think we're all stupid, that we should just carry an asp around and that should save us when someone's shooting at us. It's just the dumbest thing. So it's whatever. So where do people go to learn more about what's going on with the new policies at the task force?
They're more than welcome to come to our website, amsuppressor.com. That's AM Suppressor. They can also go to DOJ's website. They have got, if you search for Second Amendment Task Force, you can pull up the memo that Attorney General Bondi signed last week. Like I said, this is the beginning of something. It's not the end. They're at the starting point. And I was talking to some folks over at ATF just last night. They've got a lot of things in the works. I think the Second Amendment community should be very excited about what's coming down the pike.
Well, I'm always excited to know that nobody's trying to infringe upon me, because I feel like our tax dollars benefit so many of the things that they hold near to their hearts that I am abhorrently against, that they should probably just shut up and do their thing and let us do our thing at this point. Oh, Michael, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Pam. You have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.